Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Contest of Challengers Comics Industry Business Podcast. Special, not necessarily better, just different. I guess I should have said different. This is a solo episode. There is no Dal today, nor is there any other special guest. It is just I, Patrick, for the duration of this episode. This episode is also going to be recorded in chunks because I do not have a full hour to give to it right now. I have another business meeting, call, something, within 45 minutes. So I will do as much as I can now and get back to it later. This episode is also inspired by the BTE Mailbag episode of Being the Elite, which is the vlog that the Young Bucks do on YouTube weekly, and whenever they don't have a theme or time, they just solicit questions on the internet, and they call it BTE Mailbag. So what this is I have a list of questions in front of me. Not that I need help just talking for an hour, but I do usually need prompting, because I don't usually just talk to myself for a short period of time.
This is a message brought to you by Patrick from Challengers Comics. It's pretty good.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. I still approve, fan and artist and creator too. What? This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. It gets hard and it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From
Challengers Comics in Chicago.
This is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower. Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Here's Patrick.
So we are going to start with questions. And the hot button topic of the comics industry this week deals with printing damages for a large number of books from this week, including Absolute Batman number 20, also this week's Absolute Martian Manhunter, and Barbara Gordon Breakout number 1, and basically every Image book for the week, Spawn 357, Dork 4, Witchblade 21, Department of Truth 37, Thing on the Doorstep 4. Yeah, there may be a few more. So, what happened? Well, I don't know. There are, in fact, minor damages on the print run of all of those books. When I say minor damages, I say if it wasn't for the fact that people started complaining about it in online forums, we might never have noticed it. In fact, Molly Jane, who checked in the lunar shipment this week, actually last week, it arrived last Thursday, and Molly is usually a lot more strict on imperfections than either Dal or I are, so she will report a lot of damages, and then it's up to us to decide if it was. And that is where we learn that I can't even answer a text while RecUp is recording, because it immediately transferred to a different screen and shut off the recording. So I believe I was saying that Molly is stricter in her assertions of damages on books, and she didn't even catch these damages. So that means they're not real easy to find. Also, in the case of Martian Manhunter, it wasn't. So I'm sorry. Let me back up. For Absolute Batman, there's like a crimp in the spine, but it's on a black image, so you don't see it until you tilt the cover a certain way. And is it a damage? Yes. Is it a damage we'd normally report? No, because it's minor and it doesn't affect the story. And now that we're recording, I have to sneeze. All right, I'm holding that back. I don't want to have to stop this and start again. Well, I will later. But when there are small errors we don't report them, specifically when it's Absolute Batman. And here's the main reason. I was going to say you, that's a general comics retailer, you're never going to get a damage replacement for Absolute Batman. Even though they do incredible print runs, and even though every week that these books are printed, they have to shuffle everything around to make sure there's time on the press because of how many copies they print, unheard of number of copies in the comics industry in recent years, there's still never enough left to cover damages or shortages or what have you. You think there would be with shortages because it just means they didn't send out those copies, but that's never the case. Almost every time we've reported Absolute Batman damages, especially when it's in double digits, we never get replacements. Never. So at a certain point, we just bite the bullet and say, this is what we got. Especially when it's a print run where they're all damaged. You know there's not going to be any better copies to get. And I don't feel as bad when the copies are completely damaged for everyone. For example, there was an issue of Avengers within the last year that had a problem where the stapling didn't go all the way through from the outside of the spine to the middle of the book. And the center spread page was loose and came off in the books when you turn the page. It happened on my copy, and that's when I noticed it. And then I looked it up and saw, oh no, it's all of them. Because I just thought, like, oh, I'll just bend the staple and put this back in. You can't. The pages completely slice through, which is why the staple doesn't hold. So it wasn't so much a staple issue as a staple hole issue. But once I realized it was line wide, so the next person that came in and said, hey, this is messed up, and this is what I said to them. I will 100% give you a refund. I cannot give you a better book. Every single copy of the book is like this. So unless they reprint it, which for that one they did not, that's the best they're going to be. So if you want your money back, I get it. I understand, and I will allow that. But if you want a copy of the book, they're all going to be like this. And that person chose to keep their copy, which I would do the same thing. In fact, I was in that same situation. And for all of these Absolute Batmans, when you know that they're all like this, it's just having it or not having it. There's no such thing as a better copy. Having it or not having it, those are your choices. So I was pleasantly surprised that while this is a widespread issue in the industry, and I'm sure the very dialed-in customers at Challengers were aware of it, not a single person brought it up or asked for a refund or what have you. Now, DC is going back to press, and they're going to be reprinting these issues. These will be second prints with different color covering, different logo coloring to denote that it's a different printing. My offer to anyone who bought one of these books, if they would like to swap out their first print, their damaged first print copy for the new second print copy, you're welcome to do it. You just have to bring your other book back in and we'll swap it out. I honestly don't expect many, if any, people to take us up on that because it's a difference between a first printing and a second printing. And again, you know all the first printings are the same type of printing errors. And it's the story inside. Look, I know that Absolute Batman especially is a book that immediately skyrockets in value. For now, we'll see where it is in a few months, few years from now. But I don't know that people will want to sacrifice their damaged first printing for a second printing. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Honestly, Dal and I have not talked about this. Dal is unavailable for the moment and may not be back for a minute. So we haven't really had a chance to set aside some time to discuss this particular issue. Maybe he'll have a different take. I don't know. But as it stands right now, when these new printings of these books come in, which is all going to be the first week of June, and I am dreading that week because getting replacements for all of our Absolute Batmans, all of our Absolute Martian Manhunters, all of our Batgirls, Barbara Gordon breakouts, and all of the Image books that I've previously listed, all of those are coming in on top of the regular weekly shipment. Now, as a regular listener of this podcast know, we can never predict exactly when we're going to get Lunar's shipments. As it stands right now, I just got a notification that this or next week's books have been bundled and have been assigned a tracking number, but that still doesn't mean anything. We could get them tomorrow, we could get them Monday. I really hope that it is tomorrow, even though it's a large shipment, and I'm trying to remember why it's so large, because this last week was incredibly large as well. Actually, it's a Batman week next week, right? It's Absolute Green Arrow, it's Batman. It's Batman in 2 weeks. You've heard me mention this before, but like, for example, last night I was doing all of the invoicing breakdown for May 27th. Now, right now it's May 14th, so that's 2 weeks in the future. So I have all those books rattling in my head on top of next week's books for May 20th. Trying to remember, wait, which is next week and which is the week after? That is a continual problem with my aging brain. But hopefully, well, it doesn't matter. Hopefully nothing. I'll know when the books come in how big the week is. It's 8 boxes for us, which is 16 inner boxes. That's a decent sized Lunar shipment, and PRH as well. And all the reorders, knowing that Dal was going to be gone, he started doing reorders early last week, so they were spread out more, so they all don't just bunch up. That was the case for this week. Next week, they're going to be back to bunching up. And one of the questions that is sitting here in front of me, and I don't know that I fully handled the Absolute Batman 20 question, but I don't know if more comes up as I'm talking. If I can think of more, I'll bring it up, but I think you get the gist of it. There was a line-wide printing error on all of those books, and they are all being reprinted to be replaced. And okay, so while Dal is gone, I am doing most of Dal's tasks. Now, many, many episodes ago, I want to say maybe episode 600, Dal and I did a Q&A to each other, and we had talked about the division of labor for what Challengers is, and how we both thought the other one did a lot of stuff that we didn't know how to do. And not know how to do, but didn't know the way the person does it. And that was never more evident when I needed some time away last year for reasons, and now Dal needs his time away now. And we've been using Shopify and Manage Comics since the end of 2020, so it's been a minute. But there are constant updates and changes. And you've heard us talk in detail in recent weeks about the change from Stocky to Logistified. And Logistified is the stock order app that we use to do our reorders and to plug in quantities and to let us know what we want to reorder and how many, et cetera, and which distributor and all that kind of stuff. But Logistified is a brand new thing we just started using. And when I say we just started using, I mean it was all Dal. Dal found it. Dal talked to the developers. Dal got some added functionality. And Dal is the one who explains how to use it for me and Molly. And all that is a normal division of labor for Challengers when there are the explanations on how to do it. And I don't know about you, listener, but I myself am a very visual learner. I learn from doing and from repetition. And from being shown how to do a thing, it's a little bit harder for me to learn when I'm reading it, just from reading, especially when everything is a visual tool that you're going to be using. When it's being described to you and you're not looking at it, like, that's almost impossible. So it's always been a goal for us the last few years to start really keeping records of how we do things and making it easy to explain to anyone else how to do our jobs should it arise that one of us can't do what we do. Well, now that it was Dal's turn and he had to get all of this stuff committed to paper for me in his absence, this wasn't him over a period of time showing me how to do things. This was him frantically remembering what he does in chronological order before he left and getting it on paper so I can follow along. And the differences between what the two of us do are, I don't know if it's not that it's vast, it's that they're very different. And a lot of what I do, I don't think takes as much explaining. And it's stuff that Dal could easily do were he to sit down and figure out his way to do things. But when he was doing my stuff last year, he was doing it his way, and it was different. Not better, not worse, just different. Me doing the things that he does, I don't want to be different. I want to do it exactly how he does it, because that is all specific computer functionality, and it is a very specific learning curve. And it is also a lot of work, a lot of computer work every single day. So I've been covering all of Dal's days. And even the days we worked together, I was never fully aware of how much work he was doing. I knew what he was doing. Like, I could say he's doing the reorders. But doing a reorder, you have to do a reorder for each distributor now, which, as you know, is Penguin Random House, and it is Lunar, and it is Simon & Schuster, and it is Scholastic, and it could be Hachette, and it's Ingram, it's HarperCollins. It's a bunch of different smaller orders. One of the hardest things for me to remember is, what are the minimums for these distributors, and which specific vendors in those distributors have separate minimums. For example, you can't just place a Hachette order, and if they can't be like, oh, it's a minimum of 15 pieces. Well, no, that's for main publishers, but maybe Abrams has a very specific minimum for their books as well, and you can't count that as the 15 for the general order. And those are things that we don't have written down anywhere. For example, yesterday I was placing a Scholastic reorder, and I didn't remember, like, I was at 14 books, right? Not a huge order, 14 pieces. And I couldn't remember, like, is it 15? Is it 12? Is it 10? Well, I don't remember, so let's try to get the order over to 15. Okay, great. I got it up to 17. Okay, 3 of those books are not available to order. So even though they were on my order, that cuts it down to 14. So now I'm below 15. Is 15 right? Is it 12? I don't remember. I guess we'll find out. And then there was an issue with the purchase order line number. It was 1 digit too big. So it looks like it may have kicked, but it sent me an error message saying, hey, there's a problem. And there was a little star next to the purchase order number, which we'll need to modify our in-house numbering system, which I don't know why it kicked it this time, because it's the same pattern we use, and it hasn't kicked before. Anyway, that was a surprise. And it looked like it went through, but I don't know if it went through or not. But you need to open up Logistified and set all your parameters, and then have it spit out the books that it thinks you need, or not that it thinks you need, the books that meet the criteria of ordering. You know, it falls below this shelf quantity and it needs to be reordered. Then we have to go through and edit it and literally edit the data down so it can be uploaded into the PubEasy website, which is how we order Scholastic, and put it in the UPC in the right format, edit it down to just the first part of the code and the quantity we want, and then send it, and then go back to Logistified and commit that order. It's not hard, but it's steps. It's long steps. It's a lot of editing. So that is all new things for me to have to deal with this week. Here's a question, and I'm going to expand on it, is what is AbleStar? AbleStar is a app that we use through Shopify that lets us add a whole bunch of tags to the items on our website. And this is something Dal has always been passionate about. And I think that our website is really detailed in its searchability functions. You could go to the Challenger's website. I'm going to do it right now since this is one of those rare times I'm in front of a computer while I'm recording. So I'm going to pull up the challengerscomics.com website, and I'm going to hit the little search bar, which is the magnifying glass in the upper right corner. And I'm just going to type Garth Ennis. And what comes up? So what comes up is Garth Ennis Complete Battlefields, Boys Omnibus, The War, Sarah graphic novel, Preacher Book 5, Marjorie Finnegan, Creepshow, Preacher, Punisher, Hello Darkness, Freddy the Fix, The Boys. So anyway, it's bringing up everything that he's tagged in. And he's tagged because we set up writer tags for all of our comic books and our graphic novels. Let me be a little more specific. Let's go. Actually, I'm going to be a little more general. Kyle Starks, because Kyle Starks is a writer and an artist. So I want to see, let's see, Wrestle Heist, End of Life, Kill Them All, Rock Candy Mountain, Brave and the Bold #7, Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, Devil on My Shoulder, Hit This Place. Okay. So it pulls up everything Kyle's involved in, whether it be a book he wrote, a book he drew, or an anthology he has a story in. So that's a tribute to what AbleStar does as far as the functionality of the searching for the tags. And we tag things by writer. We tag things by artist. We tag things by release date. We have a whole bunch of sections. Let's go to the main page and scroll down to our collections. They're called collections. Our collections are superhero, sci-fi fantasy, crime mystery, drama, horror, humor, manga, all ages, young adult, LGBTQIA+, art reference prose, sale items, Marvel single issues, DC single issues, Image single issues, other single issues, comic supplies, toys. There's Challengers exclusives. There are small press creators, like you can search Andrea Bell and get all of her individual things, or Rachel Bard's books, who they don't have barcodes, but if you search Rachel Bard, we've tagged all of her books Rachel Bard, so they will come up. For the Challengers Build Your Library, we have reset them all and are starting over. Everybody's a little bit slow in getting theirs updated, except for Dal and I. Everybody's supposed to have a little write-up of 3 books that they want and a video. So far, only Dal and I have those. Andrew has his video, but not his write-ups. And I don't think anybody else has done it. But all those are separate tags as well. So when you click on, let's say, Lizzie Builds Your Library, you come up with, there's 4 books in it now. The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, Kaya, Stray Dogs, Dog Days, and House Cat Trouble, Lost and Found. Because those are tagged with Lizzie Recommends. So AbleStar is how we tag everything, but it's a bulk tagging app so you can tag everything for each week at once. And I'd never used it before, and I love what it does, but also the bulk editing is kind of neat. I was working with Kate the last couple of days, and I started to giggle as I got each one done because it's a little bit of computer work to have it populate all of them. And I just think that's so cool how it does it all. Like for the week, it's like, there you go. These are all tagged as Marvel graphic novels, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought it was great. I thought it was a wonderful process. I really enjoyed it, which is so weird to hear me saying. But a lot of the stuff that I've been doing for Dal in his absence is stuff that I kind of enjoy doing it. Some of it I don't like at all. Some of it I hate. There are a lot of tasks, and I have a 7-page document that I could refer to when I need to go over what to do day by day. And in typical fashion, Dal has his way of doing things. I've been cheating and doing things ahead. Like I've got some breakdown sheets done for this upcoming week and the week after already. And I may suggest to Dal a certain way to do things. All right, that just brought up a memory. It was suggested by customer Steve yesterday. What was it? What would I said? Oh yeah, okay. Let me write this down. Copyovers. Copyovers that we don't copy over. Okay. I need a flat surface. My old desk used to have these little wings that would pull out from the sides. I'm just going to write down copyovers. And that's where I do all the writing. I would just like rotate to my left or to my right and pull out one of the wings and use that as a table, because the surface of my desk is shelves, monitor, desktop, keyboard, mouse, and then tiny bits of room next to it to write things down. But I have an art table behind me I can just move over to. But copyovers. We were talking about, okay, so this is a tangent. This is not part of my questions. We were talking in the store yesterday about the copyovers. Every month when the catalog emails come out, we'll list, here are the books that you're getting. If you were down for Detective Comics, you're now getting the Detective Comics 2026 annual. So we list the copyovers. What we don't list is what you think may be obvious but aren't obvious copyovers. For example, the Rascal Randy miniseries, that's the prequel series spinning out of Exquisite Corpses from Image. It is, how did Rascal Randy, his origin story. How did he get to who he was in Exquisite Corpses? We are not copying that over to Exquisite Corpses readers because it is a different writer and artist. And granted, it was a different artist basically on every issue of Exquisite Corpses. But Rascal Randy is a separate series with a different creative team, and it doesn't advance the Exquisite Corpses story. It just fills in the gaps. So in that instance, we are not copying it over. So people have to get it on their own. And this customer, Steve, had said that we were looking at the list of, we do, 12 or 15 call outs every month by the front register of, hey, here's the books coming out in July. You can add to your list now. And he was going over some of the books, and he said, oh, I'm automatically going to get Rascal Randy. And I said, what do you mean automatically? He's like, well, I got Exquisite Corpses, so you'll just carry that over. And I said, actually, we won't. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, we list the copyovers. He's like, yeah, I read the copyovers, but it didn't say that I wasn't getting that. And I thought, that's a good point. A lot of people may think they're getting it. It's more work for us to figure out what people think the obvious copyover might be. But I think it's a good suggestion that we should say, hey, if you want, for example, Rascal Randy, you have to get it on your own. And again, nothing I've talked to Dal about, and it would be up to him to figure out what the non-crossover crossovers, or the non-copyover copyovers would be, and make a section for that. But I think that that's a good point, and we are always willing to listen to thoughts and ideas, no matter who they come from. So many things in the history of Challengers have come from not Dow and myself, other people's suggestions and ideas, and we use them. And if they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. But if it's a good idea, we'll use it. A good idea is a good idea, no matter who has it. This is not a proprietary thing of like, oh, only Dow or I could talk about or can suggest things, what have you. No, we're up for suggestions all the time. Just don't feel bad if we don't use your suggestion. Here's a question. What is Andrew's problem? Andrew does not have a problem. Andrew, like everyone who works with us for the most part, has a full-time job elsewhere. Andrew is a defense attorney and is in court virtually every day of the week. And he came to us from having worked at Flying Colors in Concord, California. Flying Colors you may recognize as Joe Field's store, and Joe Field is the father of Free Comic Book Day. So yeah, Andrew's been with us coming up on 6 years now, and Andrew's great, and I greatly enjoy working with him. He has a really good Silver Age knowledge for somebody significantly younger than me. He has a kind of a pun sense of humor, and he's always very proud of his jokes. I greatly enjoy working with Andrew. I enjoy working with all the challengers, and that's the point. The point is we hire people that we think are good and are a benefit to the store and a benefit to you if you are shopping with us and being wrung out. Kate, new hire Kate. I say new hire, but she's most recent. She came to us back in November, and I've been working with Kate a lot while Dal has been gone, and Kate has really picked everything up and is very proactive in her work. She's always looking for something to do. We're very lucky that a lot of our employees have the mindset of just loving monotonous, repetitive tasks, because there's a lot of those in comic book retail, and the fact that they not only do them but like doing them is really beneficial to us. So that's great. But yeah, we have a great crew, and hold on. There's a question later on that says, which former employees do you miss? Almost all of them. I've loved everybody that has worked with us, and I miss almost all of them. And, Samantha recently moved on, and Samantha was with us before we opened. She helped build the store. Early on, there was Ashley. Ashley was our first official Challengers hire, and she stayed with us for a long time, but left during the pandemic. But Ashley was, a long, like a lot of the Challengers we have now. Molly Jane has started with us in 2011 to 2015, took a break and is back now, came back during the pandemic, and is with us still now, an invaluable member of the team. The highest ranking non-Patrick or Dow member of Challengers in authority. Lizzie and Gina have both been with us for, 12, 14, 15 years. I can't even remember. I do have this stuff recorded. I don't have it in front of me, but yeah. Donovan recently moved on for the second time, just like Sam. And actually, they'd all taken a break at one point and come back. But Donovan had been with us since before Gina. Yeah, even the shorter term employees like Charlotte or Rose. I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm not going to name everybody, but everybody had a role to play in making the store what it is, and they were all hired for a reason, and most of them proved worth it. I know I keep saying most of them. Looking back, there's one hire that would not have been asked back and did not leave on the best of terms. Oh, let me rephrase that. A couple. There's two. There's at least two. Yeah. Wow. One I've tried so hard to erase that I completely forget about them. Oh, good times. Yeah, almost everybody has been a complete home run for us. Not 100%, but mostly. It's well over 90%. And those are amazing odds. But, nobody can work anywhere forever. Life gets in the way sometimes, and we are incredibly thankful for the people that we still have. And like we said, almost all of them have full-time jobs elsewhere. They do Challengers because they want to be part of it and they love it. And for that, we can't ever thank them enough. And especially the way that Kate has been stepping up recently, filling in a lot. So which former employees do you miss? Just about all of them. What changes are you itching to make? Okay, so there's always something that I want to change in the store. And when I say change, I mean like a physical change or something that needs replacing or what have you. Last Tuesday night, and this is spinning out of Free Comic Book Day. As you know, we did Free Comic Book Day set up a little bit differently. We didn't use the metal racks from the middle of Sidekicks. We didn't build islands there and put the books on those. We'd already built the islands, though, and as we talked about in the last few weeks, we then used those islands outside for discounted graphic novels. When we were bringing one of those racks out from the garage, a wheel broke off. Now, the frames for those islands, the wheels are an add-on. The racks all came with screw-in flat feet, that you can adjust the height to balance it out, make sure it's on the floor properly. But we swapped those out with wheels to make them plastic casters to make them move around and you can lock into place. And that's great for like C2E2 setup or Free Comic Book Day or whatever we were using them for. We don't use them much anymore, so they're just kind of in storage. Knowing that I had to disassemble the racks and put them back in their storage homes, I had thought, is there something we can do with these so they're not disassembled? And I started thinking about the way we had our long boxes for display in the alley window. Now, the alley window isn't necessarily usable sales space, but we turned it into it years ago. When we had our graphic novel rental section, we had a small bookshelf there in the window, and that's because it's high up off the ground, and it was just a 3-shelf bookshelf. So we had those there. And then we'd moved that along, and it's like, well, we need somewhere to put the boxes, and boxes take up a lot of room. So we had trying to figure out how to describe these. So we've got 2 foot by 4 foot, 5 foot, or 6 foot grid wall racks. They're 2-inch metal squares that form a grid pattern on a 2 foot wide by 4 foot, 5 foot, or 6 foot high grid. And then you could mount those to the wall and hook shelves on them. That's how we display all of our single issue comics and a lot of the graphic novels and sidekicks. And shout out to my brother-in-law, Jack, who, when we were building the store, introduced me to the anchoring screws that I've been using, that I've used, like a million of since then. That is entirely how we had everything secured at Blue. And then I had to cover those all up, spackle those holes. So we had flat shelves that hooked onto 2 foot squares when we were selling t-shirts. These are shelves we bought specifically. They only hook on the side. So they have to be in like an open 3-sided cube to hook in to support it. And I built like a Frankenstein size one of those for the window, the alley window, to keep the boxes. But the alley window is 16 inches deep. The grid wall frames are 24 inches deep, so they'd stick out a bunch. And it was fine. It was a fine solution. Usable, but it wasn't, it didn't look great, and it was confusing to put signs on. And we had it that way for years. But anyway, last Tuesday night, I thought, what if I put one of those racks in that window area with the shelves on it, and then transfer all the bags and boards from the wall onto that, and then move the boxes over to that side wall to give them a little bit more of a different display space. And we could do it with the flat base of the island, with taking the wheels out. And in my head, I'm like, would this work? I'm like, I think it'll work. But then I got to the store Wednesday, did actual measurements, and realized it would stick out too far, meaning that all the weight of the bags and boards would be on the front of the rack, and the front of the rack would hang off by 8 inches. So there'd be no support under those 8 inches, and it would probably tip, and it would look bad because it'd be hanging over by 8 inches anyway. So I said, no, that's not going to work. But then Wednesday night, when the store closed, sometimes I just sit in the dark store or walk around the dark store and think about what to do. And then I realized, wait a minute, Kallax IKEA shelves would fit in that window almost perfectly. And then I started measuring and found that you could put, boxes in those shelves if you didn't build all of the middle shelves for it. And then I realized if I just built, if I got 1x4s, 4 shelves and a width of one shelf, 4 shelves high, basically 1 foot by 4 foot, but not exactly that. If I just put the bottom shelf in, so there's a 1 foot shelf at the bottom and 3 feet of empty space is 1 shelf on the top, all the boxes would fit in each one of those fine. And then the poster racks would cover up the bottom shelves, hiding them, whatever's in there. And that is perfect for overage, supply stock overage, restock for the supply shelves that could just be on the sales floor but hidden by the posters. And it doesn't matter if they're hidden because anything that's on those shelves is already on the main sales shelves next to them. And when I get an idea like that in my head, I kind of have to do it right away. So literally last Thursday, which was my last day off, I ran out to the Bolingbrook IKEA, got stuck in horrible traffic. So what I thought would be not quite an hour and a half ordeal wound up being over 3 hours. I had a Skybound Universal Monsters call I needed to get back for by 1 o'clock. I didn't. I was still in the car at 1, so I desperately tried to connect to that call on the car, and I had Zoom up, but it just never made a connection. So I missed that call completely. However, they sent a video of it afterwards, so I still got to watch it. I just didn't get to take part live, which I wouldn't have taken much part in. I would have listened, but I would have been driving, so I wouldn't have been that active in it. But I got all the supplies I needed, or most of the supplies I needed, but we always like to reinforce all of our shelving with extra 1-inch brackets, 4 of them on the bottom of each shelf. And I didn't have quite enough, so then I needed another trip out to Home Depot to get some brackets, mainly because Gilman's Ace, which was around the corner from us in Milwaukee, closed because of the bike lanes. Long story, but that was my go-to hardware store for a long time. Anyway, I got everything. Then it was a matter of when can I do this? And it is now 3 o'clock, and I need to jump on a different call. So I will get back to you. Okay, I am back significantly faster than expected because I read the times wrong, and I thought my call was at 3 o'clock. It was at 1. I was off by 2 hours. So, Brian, that's why I was not part of what you were doing online 2 hours ago. I thought it was now. But I want you to realize that even though this is my only day off, I still planned on being a part of that stream. And I mess up the time by 2 hours. So I will finish what I'm doing here and then move on to watching that. Sorry, Brian. Okay, where am I? Oh, okay, I'm up to the process behind the new box display. So I wound up staying late Monday after close to build the Kallaxes, and they're different now. They didn't have the little 2-inch wooden dowels to hammer in they actually have the screw and lock metal pieces to hold the shelf in. And I had bought myself a recent tool, a little like handheld ratchet that has the different type of Allen wrench tops that IKEA uses, and that made things a lot easier. Also, I could pull it out as a drill bit and put it in. So I built 4 of those, reinforced all of the shelves, and I got to tell you, they look great. They may not be super noticeable, but a lot of the changes that we make aren't. They're just streamlined, and it's when we get new carpeting. Maybe you don't notice the carpeting. Fine, we do. We want it better, so we'll change it. So yeah, check out how the boxes are organized now. I did drop a picture into the social media pictures on Instagram and Facebook last week of the new releases. Just throw it at the back of it because it was brand new and I'm super proud of it. And I just love the way it looks. And I think there will be no confusion as to the sizes because it's from left to right. It's one shelf of half-size boxes. The next shelf is the illustrated half-size boxes. The next shelf is long boxes. And the final shelf is magazine boxes. So we're keeping the magazine and the half as far away from each other as we can. So there's no grabbing confusion. And each shelf is labeled a lot more clearly than they were with the little tent-fold placards we had before that had a hook on the grid wall. You do the best you can. So what other changes do I want to make? All behind-the-scenes stuff that you'll never notice. So many of the things we have to do are to make up for shortcomings of the building. And when there's violent rainstorm in Chicago, we get a lot of water that comes in the store. And over the years, we've taken steps to mitigate a lot of it, but it still does come in, and it comes in under the doors, under the front door and the what would be the front door of Sidekicks, and that is why Sidekicks has no carpet, and that is why most of the shelving in Sidekicks is on wood. It's on little, like half-inch boards to get everything off the ground. By the front door, it's always wet because it's impossible to dry, and even the new carpeting we got is getting, like I say new, but it was 3 years ago now. It's pretty rough in a lot of spots. Hopefully you don't notice that, So I have small changes which require a stupid amount of physical work from me. And there's things that I've been planning. I have all the supplies for. I just haven't had the energy to do it. Because it's you need to take off every single book off of that long wall of books in Sidekicks, move all those shelves out of the way, put the boards down, and then put everything back. If only it was easy to lift all of those shelves full of books. But it's not. And it's an easy task. It's just a time-consuming task. And there's more stuff like that. I had a new way I wanted to hang the prints and the art that we have in the store, a dedicated, simpler, easy to do way without always damaging the wall. But it's a lot for one person to try and do. And again, I bought everything I need. There's just I need to dedicate a night to just cutting wood, just sawing wood out in the trash room. I have the wood, I have the saw. I need a better apron because we get stuff everywhere. And I just need to dedicate time to do it. Maybe this weekend, I don't know. I also want to hit Reckless one of these nights, and then only open until 7. And I haven't had a chance to do that yet because I need enough time to look around because I buy way too many records. Along those lines, what are you listening to right now? Well, the sound of my own voice, but directly before this, I was listening to Wet Leg. I bought the Wet Leg's 2 albums, Self-Title and Moisturizer, recently, mainly because of the Training It podcast with Joe Wilkinson that he does, where he just takes a train ride with someone and has a conversation. And it's been people like Nick Mohammed or Michael Sheen, but he had Rhiannon Teasdale from Wet Leg on one of them, and it was adorable. And she was going to visit her mom, and obviously I was familiar with Wet Leg and know their hits and whatnot, but I'm like, yeah, okay. And I did have a digital copy of Moisturizer, but I went out and picked up the vinyl for both of them. So that, but also the first couple of tracks from the new Armored Saint album, Emotion Factory Reset. Fozzy has a new single out called I Know Evil. The sons of Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons have a band called Stanley Simmons, and they have an album coming out next month. They've got a couple singles out, and they're good. And it's very much a late 60s, early 70s feel. It's not like their father's band. The father's band. It's a lot more folk rock, if you will. Just really energetic. It's called Dancing While the World is Ending. So there you go. That is what I'm listening to currently. Thank you for that question. I have not watched any wrestling in the last week and a half because I've been far too busy. How do you choose the music in the store? Well, it's usually who's in charge that day. So when it's Dal Days, Dal plays. When it's Patrick Days, Patrick plays. When it's Molly's Days, Molly plays. If I am working with like Gina and I need to run out, then Gina can take the stereo. But how do you choose so that was how we choose whose turn it is. But how do we choose the music we play? Personal preference, really. I have thousands of podcasts. Thousands. Let me rephrase that. I have dozens of playlists on my Apple Music. I keep wanting to say iTunes, but it's not iTunes anymore. And I either shuffle between the main one, which is everything, mostly filtered out for store appropriate. By that I mean no profanity and not extremely heavy. Or I'll be listening to the modified 2026 playlist, which is everything that I've bought so far or gotten in 2026 digitally. You know, obviously there's a lot of stuff I buy in vinyl that I don't get digitally. But anyway, it is an edited version of that because there's some stuff that's just a little, what I would consider too brutal to play in the store. And on that note, you'll mainly notice that if you're ever in Sidekicks, it's quiet. We don't have the music playing in Sidekicks, even though I did run speakers there and you can do it. We didn't because it seems that most of the music we play is not conducive to young kids. You know, it just doesn't feel like having the latest Rachel Bolan solo album music playing in Sidekicks is really the right vibe for that. So we just keep it quiet in there. Unless I'm in there working, and then I will turn the speakers on in there. And if it's after hours, I crank the music while I'm working. But yeah, it's basically employee's choice and hopefully no profanity. Why do you guys wear suits? Well, Dal's answer would always be, it's the least we can do. But first of all, it's a misnomer. We both wear shirts and ties. Dal always wears a suit, meaning that the same fabric is his jacket and his pants. That is what a suit is. The suit is a matching pant and jacket. A vest could be part of it. It's not required. A three-piece suit means there's a vest, but a suit traditionally just means a jacket and slacks. But he always wears long-sleeve dress shirts, and that's what makes him look more professional. I don't ever wear long sleeves. I'm always in short sleeves or no sleeves, but never at the store that way. And mainly in patterned shirts. Also, mainly in jeans, mainly in black jeans. So I'm never in a suit, but I'm always in a vest. Spoiler alert, I'm not wearing a vest right now. Also, I always have my button-down shirt buttoned all the way to the top button. Obviously, if I'm wearing a tie, but even when I'm not wearing a tie, because when I have the shirt open, it messes up the flow of my beard. It interferes with the beard and makes the beard all unsculpted and gross and choppy, and I don't like that. When I'm at home, my button-down shirt is buttoned all the way down like Andy Travis 1970 style, like it is right now. I had to do up 2 buttons so I could clip the microphone on for this podcast recording, but otherwise, it at home or when I'm out in public, normally the shirt is unbuttoned, several buttons. T-shirt under it, maybe not, but yeah. So why do we wear the suits, or where do we dress up? Because we take our business seriously, and we want you to immediately know that we're the people behind it and we're the ones in charge. We don't require the people that work with us to wear suits because there's always one of us there, and it should be easy to tell who works there. Obviously, we have name tags. I don't always wear my name tag, not because I have anything against it. I just usually forget or just never get around to wearing it. But I've been better of it of lately. Historically, when we opened the store, Dal was wearing he never wore vests. And it was a couple years in that he suggested wearing a vest, but thought that that was my thing and didn't want to interfere with that. And a friend of his said, go ahead and do it. He doesn't own the concept of vests, for which I will never forgive her. She knows who she is. So Dal started wearing vests as well. So now every time people walk in and see Dal in a 3-piece suit and say, wow, he looks so great, and I'm standing next to him in a vest and collared shirt and tie, but no one says anything about how I look because I'm not wearing a jacket, and or even if Dal doesn't have a jacket on, his long sleeve white dress shirts always look fancier. And you will almost never see me in a long sleeve white dress shirt or short sleeve white dress shirt. In fact, I had to go to a wedding out of state a couple of years ago, and I was in the wedding party, and they requested a black suit and a white shirt, and I had to go buy a white shirt for that event, which I did happily. I will ascertain to your wishes if you are generous enough to have me in your wedding. But anyway, that shirt is no longer in my possession because I did not foresee a situation where I would wear it again. And if I need a new one, I'll just work around it. Many years ago, in a different life, when I was working the Chicago Comic-Con for someone else, and they always wanted us to wear a white dress shirt and a tie. I didn't own any white dress shirts, so I would wear the lightest of colors that I had, like a coral or a salmon or a light blue with a tie. And it was mentioned every day to me that I wasn't wearing a white shirt. I'm like, this is the best I got. So that's what we did. So why do you wear suits? Because we take our job seriously and we want to look like we take it seriously, and it helps you identify who's right in charge. Why aren't there links in your weekly email? I'm going to assume that means links to the books that are listed in our weekly next week release email. There are links in all of the emails. There's links to the website. There's links to FAQs or other, like the Threadless store, things like that. And the FOC email on Fridays is linked to all those books at all times. So I'm assuming this question is, why aren't there links to books in the weekly email? And here's why. As a rule, we do not sell New This Week comics online until Thursdays at noon. And that is to prioritize the in-store experience, but it's also to make sure that we aren't scrambling and fighting against all of the people coming in first thing Wednesday to buy new releases, and we're fighting with them to get those new releases off the wall to people that bought them online. And thirdly, it prevents hot books from being sniped for the week. So somebody can't be, oh, I want to buy all these new books I just read about. There's a new appearance or something I want to get. Let me buy them all before the store even opens. Like we don't allow online purchases, not before that time on Thursdays. Now, to get around that, if you're a subscriber and you subscribe and you're like a mailer subscriber or any subscriber at all, your books are pulled before we're open on Wednesdays, obviously, and you can subscribe to whatever and however many you want. We've always said that if you want to get 100 copies of an issue of Absolute Batman, if you pre-order them before the final order cutoff date, we don't have a problem. It's when you try to ask for them after the fact that there's a problem. And that's why there aren't links in the weekly email, because if there were links in the weekly email, then people would start nabbing things that we already have a limited number of shelf copies available for Wednesday's on sale date. And we don't want people snagging them the week before they go on sale or reserving them. You had months to reserve them, so we don't feel bad about that. But there are specifically no links in our weekly email for those reasons. You cannot buy books from us online before Thursday at noon each week. And that's why. The new box display, talk about that. Music, suits, changes, employees. The last question is too big of a question for me to think about now. It is, what are the biggest problems affecting your business right now? And I know it says the biggest. I'm just going to mention the things that come to my mind right away. One of them is never being able to plan a week properly because we don't know when we're getting our lunar shipments in. This has been bad, very bad in the last 2 months. We thought it was over because Free Comic Book Day is over, but who knows if it is or not. Even as we talked in the beginning of this podcast, I assume they're coming tomorrow. I don't know for sure. If they don't come until Monday, that is a huge problem for me specifically because I am not as fast as Dal is. Like checking it in, fine. I can check in a lunar order as fast as Dal. Maybe a little bit slower, but it's not an issue. But it's all the work you have to do receiving and the polls and all those things that I'm much slower than him at. And if all that has to be done on a Monday when most of that is usually done well before a Monday, well, then I have a problem. So that's an issue. A broader picture, this is the easy answer is data. All the data and all the differences are still wrong. And even when the comment standard is enacted, it's not going to change things like Boom listing their books in the dumbest way possible compared to everybody else. Yeah. Even between Dal and I, there's a difference in how we parse the data out. And when I'm breaking things down for listing in the website and the email, I make a lot more shortcuts than Dal does for the website, because the website, you want product titles to be as detailed and explanatory as possible. For example, every manga would be like Rai graphic novel volume 5. For my purposes, it would be Rai 5, or maybe Vol 5, but usually just Rai 5. But yeah, that's because we are serving different masters on this one. I need as much truncated titling as possible, so visually it doesn't break too many lines. When you are making a list of the new, say, manga graphic novels for the week, you can just read it off in one section, but the longer the title and putting out the full words graphic novel takes up space. And now that we're using Canva instead of Publisher for our list breakdowns, and Canva does not give you text columns, you have to do 3 separate columns and piece it all together, there's less room to work with. I don't get as much column width per column as I did in Publisher. So I have to make a lot of adjustments to make things fit. And it's a little more work, and it's a little less creative. I'm sure any Canva representatives would tell me that I'm insane, but it was a lot easier and a lot faster for me in Publisher to have different fonts for the subject headings every week. Being able to work in the margins, I had, was it 12? 20 separate font headings, all broken down into their respective categories. So a group that would say graphic novel, manga, sidekicks, Marvel, DC Comics, Image, blah, blah, blah. A whole block of that in one style of font, 20 different font styles. So I could just plug and play every week to make it look different than the week before. I don't have that in Canva. You can't have them just sitting there not being used. So I've just been using the same font titles every time. And the only thing that changes are the text and the images on the sides. It is a little easier in Canva to change the images. So, for example, the new release boards we have in the store, the one by the front counter, the monitors that list what's new, the one by the register, and the one by the new releases in the back themselves, for the 2 separate lists. It's just one list, but one is justified to the left, one is justified to the right. Now there's always 3 books per screen broken out, like, hey, here's 3 covers. Well, it's different. It's three different books on this one and 3 different books on that one, because that's easy enough to do, and it would be a little bit harder to do in Publisher. Plus, I never thought of it until I was working on Canva. So there's that. But yeah, the different data is such a hassle. And not only do I have to break it all down differently for the release boards, like I did last night for the books coming out on the 27th, you have to do it again through, is it through AbleStar? When the books are getting put on your website, so everything is uniform that way, and it's a different way. So lucky me, doing both of these tasks, I get to edit everything twice, but in different ways. But so yeah, those are some of the bigger problems not bigger problems, but some of the problems that bother me in the industry now. And I don't know what next week's episode is going to be like. I do not presume Dal's going to be back for it. I will see if I can't do something fun. In the meantime, if you have more questions like this, that definitely gives me a jumping off point to talk. So please send in any questions you want to challengers@challengerscomics.com. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.